bottle as long as the water meets basic safety standards regardless of where it actually came from or how it was processed. That's a $20 billion industry running on label language that means almost nothing. On the real side of this list, the label and the reality finally match. Not all purified water is deceptive. The honest version of the category exists at Costco, Trader Joe's, and every store brand shelf that labels its water exactly for what it is without mountain imagery or celebrity campaigns. Costco's Kirkland Signature Purified Water, Trader Joe's store brand, and similar private label purified waters are filtered municipal water, clearly labeled, and sold in bulk at a fraction of the cost of Dasani or Aquafina. No mountain imagery, no electrolyte marketing, no lifestyle branding, just clean, filtered water at a price that reflects what it actually costs to make. The filtration process is the same reverse osmosis and carbon filtration used by Dasani and Smart Water. The water quality is comparable. The price difference is entirely explained by the fact that Kirkland doesn't spend money on celebrity campaigns, designer bottles, or marketing copy designed to make municipal water sound exotic. A 40-pack of Kirkland water costs roughly what 4 bottles of Smart Water cost at a convenience store. This is the purified water category done with integrity, not because the product is exceptional, but because the brand makes no claims it can't back up. In a category built on inflated language and misleading imagery, a label that just says purified drinking water is almost radical in its honesty. When spring water is sourced and bottled at the actual spring location, the label earns its claims. And Crystal Geyser is one of the few mass-market brands that can genuinely say their water never traveled through a municipal system before it reached the bottle, though the full story comes with an asterisk worth knowing. Crystal Geyser does something that most major bottled water brands don't bother with. They bottle their water directly at the source. Each Crystal Geyser facility sits at a natural spring location, which means the water goes from the ground into the bottle without traveling through a municipal processing system first. Their sources include documented springs in California, Tennessee, and New Hampshire, and the spring water claim is geologically supported rather than legally maneuvered, which puts them in a fundamentally different category than Poland Spring and Arrowhead, even though all three use the same words on the label. The asterisk is serious and worth knowing. In 2020, Crystal Geyser's parent company pleaded guilty to federal charges related to illegally storing and transporting hazardous waste at their Olancha, California bottling facility. The company maintained that water quality was never compromised, and finished product testing has not shown safety violations. But the episode is a legitimate reason to pause, because sourcing integrity and operational integrity are two different things. And both matter when you're talking about something you drink every day. Crystal Geyser earns its place on the real side because the sourcing story is genuine. The asterisk is there because knowing the full story is part of making an informed choice.
We're looking for adults 45 and under to be in our HPV vaccination ad. Sound like you?
Not me. In a relationship.
If you're sexually active and unvaccinated, it could still be you.
I'm too old.
If you're under 45, you're not. For most people, HPV clears on its own, but for those who don't clear the virus, it can cause certain cancers.
Wow.
Gardasil 9 is a vaccine given to adults through age 45 that can help protect against certain HPV-related cervical, vaginal, vulvar, anal, and certain head and neck cancers, such as throat and back of mouth cancers, and genital warts.
Gardasil 9 doesn't protect everyone and doesn't treat cancer or HPV infection. These diseases may have many causes.
Your doctor may recommend screening for certain HPV-related cancers. Routine cervical cancer screenings are still needed. You shouldn't get...
Artesian water is in a category of its own, drawn from a pressurized underground aquifer rather than a surface spring. And Fiji, which comes from a protected aquifer beneath the Fijian island of Viti Levu, is the most widely available example of what genuine artesian water actually is. Fiji water is one of the few mass-market bottled waters that is genuinely what it claims to be. It comes from a natural artesian aquifer beneath the Yakara Valley on the Fijian island of Viti Levu, where rainwater filters slowly through layers of volcanic rock before collecting underground. The bottling facility sits directly above that aquifer, and the water is sealed before it ever contacts open air. The high silica content from the volcanic filtration gives Fiji a distinctively soft, smooth mouthfeel that shows up consistently in blind taste tests. It's one of the few bottled waters where most tasters can actually identify it without seeing the label. The questions around Fiji are not about sourcing honesty, they're about cost and consequence. Shipping water from a South Pacific island to grocery stores across the United States carries a carbon footprint that is hard to justify on pure hydration grounds, especially when comparable domestic spring waters exist at similar price points. A 2006 Consumer Reports study also found that Fiji contained higher arsenic levels than Cleveland tap water, within legal limits, but worth noting for a brand positioned as pristine and untouched. Fiji earns its place on the real side because the water is genuinely what the label says it is. Just go in with clear eyes about what you're paying for and why. These are the brands that represent what spring water was always supposed to mean. Mountain Valley, Evian, and Icelandic Glacial each come from documented, protected sources where the water has been filtering naturally for years, sometimes decades, before it ever reaches a bottle. Mountain Valley spring water has been sourced from the same protected spring in the Ouachita Mountains of Hot Springs, Arkansas since 1871, one of the oldest continuously operating spring water sources in the country. The geological documentation is real, the source is protected, and the mineral profile has remained consistent for over 150 years. It comes in glass bottles, which eliminates the microplastic leaching concern that applies to most plastic bottled water. It's also the water served at Wimbledon and in the US Senate, which says something about its reputation among people who care about these things. Evian comes from a single glacial source in the French Alps, where rainwater and snowmelt filter naturally through glacial sand for 15 years before reaching the surface. 15 years of natural filtration through glacial rock produces a water with a specific, consistent mineral balance that Evian has maintained since 1829. Icelandic Glacial comes from the Ölfus Spring in Iceland, one of the largest natural springs in the world, filtering through volcanic rock and emerging with a naturally alkaline pH of 8.4 without any processing or pH adjustment. The alkalinity that Essentia charges a premium to engineer artificially, Icelandic Glacial arrives with naturally and honestly. These are what people think they're buying when they pick up a bottle of Poland Spring. The difference is that the label, the source, and the geology all tell the same story. Nobody expected the most straightforward product in the bottled water category to come in a can with a skull on it, but Liquid Death, sourced from Austrian Alps mountain springs and packaged in aluminum to eliminate plastic leaching, turns out to be one of the few brands where the sourcing story, the packaging choice, and the price all make sense at the same time. Liquid Death shouldn't work. The name sounds like an energy drink. The can has a skull on it. The tagline is "Murder Your Thirst." It's marketed with heavy metal aesthetics and humor that has nothing to do with the traditional language of hydration and wellness. And yet Liquid Death is, by almost every meaningful measure, one of the most straightforward products in the entire bottled water category. The water comes from the Austrian Alps, a legitimate mountain spring source with documented geology, not a municipal system dressed up with mountain imagery. The aluminum packaging is infinitely recyclable and doesn't leach microplastics into the water the way plastic bottles do. The branding irony turns out to be the most honest thing about it. While Voss sells you status through bottle geometry, and Life WTR sells you inspiration through rotating artist labels, Liquid Death is openly mocking the premium water marketing game while quietly delivering a legitimate product underneath the joke. The sourcing is real, the packaging is better, the price, around $2 per can, is competitive with premium water brands that can't make the same claims. The skull on the can is the joke, which makes it paradoxically more trustworthy than the brands pretending their municipal tap water bubbled up from an untouched alpine spring. In a category where almost every label is a story first and a fact second, the brand built on irony turns out to be one of the few telling the truth. The more marketing language on the label, the less it has to do with what's inside. Spring, pure, alkaline, and premium are stories, documented sources,